This content is for informational and educational purposes only. You should not construe any such information or other material as legal, tax, investment, financial, or other advice. Nothing contained here constitutes a solicitation, recommendation, endorsement, or offer to buy or sell any securities or other financial instruments whatsoever by Draper Gorin Blockchain, aka DGB, the presenter, or other associated parties for the content being provided. Please do your own due diligence and seek proper counsel.
Boom! Welcome. We're at week number 58. Welcome to the DGB show, the DGB Family Hang. If you're joining us for the first time, I'm Alon. David Rankin is one of our partners, and we've got Adi and Dibio from Turf today. This is going to be a fun one. Before we jump in, I always forget this, but I shouldn't. I want to throw in if you are an early stage company or an investor in the space that wants to get involved in some of the things that we do, go to dgb.vc. You sign up to our newsletter there. You can see what's new. We have a new website coming soon, but in the meantime, check that out and check out our companies and come hang. It's been a fun many years since we got into crypto, and it's only getting more and more fun now. But Adi, Dibio, welcome. How's it going, guys?
Thanks for having us, Alan. It's going great.
I know it's late for you guys, so thank you for doing the call late at night.
Yeah.
It's never late in crypto.
Yeah.
I like that. Totally true.
Crypto never sleeps.
Still early, right?
Kevin making a Brady Bunch joke. I like it. That would be a fun parody theme song. We've talked about having an AI theme song that changes every single episode. So Punk Ape Strong, this dude we know, used to make a theme song for Blockchain and Booze and have a custom one every time, not every time, but almost every time we had a guest. What's up, Emilio? And we thought it'd be funny with AI. You could get super custom theme songs and every week have a different theme song talking about the subject of the current week. That would be pretty funny. We could do a parody Brady Bunch one for whenever we have a lot of people on the screen. That would be pretty great. Dibio, Adi, do you guys know or remember Brady Bunch? Or are you too young for that and not American? So maybe not. I don't know. Do you know what the Brady Bunch is?
Not sure what it is, but seems like a good name. So
we're all probably too young for like original Brady Bunch on TV. But when it was one of those shows. It was like an old school show from many years back about like this big giant family and how they got together, and it was kind of whatever, like one of the big most iconic shows. But it was one of those shows like when you were homesick from school and you turned on the TV because they had no real shows on, for kids back then. And we didn't have YouTube and all that fun stuff. You would just turn on and whatever was on was on. Brady Bunch was one of those shows you would see when you were home from school. It was just that. So Kevin made a joke about it. But I'm super excited because I know that we're talking about some things privately for Turf, and I think that it's not a secret. So there's, you guys were preparing for launching a token and doing some things like that. But you have I think last time you came on, you talked about how there'd be a new version of the Turf website on turf.gg for anyone who wants to check that out. And that's up, and it has some info on there saying, sign up or stay tuned for a node sale that you're going to do. So I'm excited. I think we should start with tell people what Turf is, right? And then we'll jump into what's the node sale and what does that look like? What are you guys doing?
Surely. So a lot has changed since we have been speaking in our last, obviously, DGB show. And there has been a change in terms of the perspective that we were serving at that moment. But the core infrastructure, the core product, the core mission is still the same, right? Bringing value to the gamers economy. Initially, when we started building, I'm just giving a context so that everyone know that when we started building Turf, the whole POV was making sure that we can bring more and more engagement to games, right? And whenever this thing need to be done, there need to be a huge chunk of gameplay data that need to be utilized, right? And the core use case that we have figured out that can be done through is competitive gaming, right? We have seen that most of the games that has scaled to where they are today, the top 5 games, has been there just because of the competitive gaming aspect. But there are big challenges behind it, right? How exactly the gameplay data can be utilized so that these third-party platforms can build literally uh, competitive gaming platforms, prediction markets, reputations, uh, proof of gamer scoring, and whatnot, right? But
Yeah.
whenever these people, like any third-party platform, want to curate these kind of products on top of gameplay data, that's where the biggest bottleneck comes in. And when we have been in their shoes, right? We had hosted more than 100 competitions and have figured out like, hey, the biggest problem in this market is actually to bring data from the gameplays to the platforms, right? Because there are multiple barriers. Let's say the game licensing partners, there need to be a one-on-one integration that's needed in order to fetch the game data. And that's a huge dent in scalability, right? This is the reason why maximum gameplay, like all these data-driven economy based platforms are not scaling. And to be honest, literally every single week there is a new game that's launching, right? Who can be a dare to, let's say, hey, I can do one-on-one integration with your game and give you competitive gaming stack, give you prediction market
Yeah.
stack, right?
Well, those
This is
games, yeah, those top 5 games, right? They became the top 5 games, like you said, because they had these the competitive gaming features, or they're easier to play multiplayer and all these things. And to open up the data so I can understand it correctly, the premise
Mhm.
is it's now available to smaller games, maybe,
Yes,
and just the more data that's available for more people to build these community engagement mechanisms, the better it is for the whole gaming economy, right? And that's
exactly.
what you make available.
Yes. And that's where the whole thinking process started for
Yeah.
us as well, in terms of going from consumer front to the infrastructural front and solving this problem for all, right? Uh, if I give it a shot in a nutshell, we are building a decentralized physical infrastructure network that can make any type of gameplay data available to public through an open data infrastructure, right?
Mm.
Basically, we can actually take gameplay data from the user's front,
Yeah.
orchestrate it, and put it in a on chain so that it can be utilized by any third party, right?
That would
And
be huge. Yeah. I got an idea right now. Let's see if it. So I talked about this before on previous streams, but I've got an
Mhm.
idea that I think could be built on this network that could be a company in itself, right?
Yes.
So I remember I talked about how my family does a fantasy football thing, right? And none of us, well, maybe my cousin or a couple of the people would be, and my nephew would be really good at like fantasy football. Maybe they bet and they play in more elite leagues or whatever. But basically, we have 12 teams of family members that use, I think we use the Yahoo fantasy football app. We sign up, we play against each other, we have a great time throughout the season. But that's a very rigid thing. But I could imagine a company where we go, okay, it's built on top of turf, right? We as a family or as a group, right? Let's say all of us. There's 4 of us here, and then we add the regulars, right? Like Emilio is in New Jersey. We got Kevin. We got all sorts of other folks who are the regulars, like Coop and Zuda and all the rest, right? We get the DGB family regulars. Let's say there's 15 of us. We pick a game, right? And now we create a season.
Mhm.
Somebody build this company on top of turf. I'm in. And we pick a game, we pick a season, and we go every week. You're put up against somebody, and in your own time throughout the week, you play Polytopia, right? And whatever your high score is that week in this kind of gameplay or whatever is your high score against David Rankin between now and next week. So it's decentralized in that you don't
We're
even have
probably
to
gonna
play at
win
the
if it's
same time.
forced. If it's sports,
Right?
they're going to win.
No, I'm not talking about sports. I'm literally talking about a game, right? I just talked Polytopia. Let's what's another popular game? Maybe we even pick a specific Roblox game if it's fed into the system. I don't know, right? But it would make sense for more normal Vampire Survivor, whatever game people are playing. Brawl Stars. You know what? Like whoever gets a certain whatever your points are on Brawl Stars in your highest round that you do that week against David Rankin's highest week, that's who wins this week's tournament. And you have a league and then a championship, just like any other sports league, but it's decentralized, it's online, and it's in an app, right? How cool would that be?
Yeah,
And that could be
exactly.
enabled. That could be enabled by what you're building on Turf, right?
Exactly.
So
And
instead of me having to integrate with every single mobile game and every single Nintendo game and every game that would be connected to Turf, I just connect to one place, and every person who connects in this app has a profile there, plays the game there, and it's done.
exactly. And this is the beauty. I would say whenever, let's say you are talking about multiple games, right?
By the
In
way,
this,
just to interrupt, Mike Radin, one of our team members, texted me just right now because he's listening in, and he put "and on-chain rewards" with an exclamation point. Then he put in brackets, "not investment advice."
I want to know, Alon, what game are you going to challenge me to? What are we playing?
Why don't we let our whole league decide that together? We get a group of 20 friends, and we do it. It could also be that we do gameplay every Thursday, like there's Sunday. Mike Radin says Counter-Strike. I need to I need to get good at that. I need a PlayStation.
I put my son in there in my place.
We're gonna turn on the webcams. What if we also you could do this so many different ways. You do it the way I just explained, like totally decentralized, right? Everyone does it on their own time throughout the week. Or you could even do it like in America's Football Sunday with NFL, and there's a game on Thursday night, there's games throughout the week, whatever. But I always thought it would be cool if we did a live stream during one of the games or whatever. But imagine if it's like our Thursday night gaming club, and every Thursday night, 7 p.m., we turn on a Google Hang together, and we all play our game, and it actually through here grabs the score, does the thing. You could do it like that too. Then it becomes like a regular thing. Personally, I like the decentralized, do it on your own time, and then, whatever. But we can do it a million different ways. But I'm saying someone should build this company. It should be separate from Turf. It should be built on top of their rails and enabled by them, right?
Do you remember the time when iPhone games got really popular early on, right? And it was a turn-based game. You would play Scrabble or something. And
that's what I was. Yeah. Oh, like Words with Friends and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that's why I like Polytopia, because I play that game every once in a while. I play it in bed or sitting on the couch when we're watching stupid TV. My wife turns out The Real Housewives or some shit, and I end up paying more attention than her, if I'm being honest. That's my show. But Polytopia, you can play the game. You play it. It's like a turn-by-turn game. It's super fun, and then you turn it off because you're falling asleep or whatever. The next day you turn it back on. It says resume game in the middle. I click on resume game. And now I continue my game. You don't have to do it this second, right? Whatever. I'm just giving an example of a particular game. But
this is the first time I've heard of Polytopia.
I don't know. It's a cool game. It's fun.
Yeah, it's a really cool one. And to be honest, I would say like most of the Web3 games and Web2 games that is getting out in the market, right? One of the since you have spoke during this period, you have spoke and taken nearly 5+ games name, and most of these games, if they want to leverage the Web3 primitives to have global reach in terms of competitions and getting their payments sorted, getting the value exchange done, doing the tournaments or whatever it can be, right? Whenever these things need to be facilitated, any Web2 game wants to leverage any Web3 primitives, they have to go through a huge legality point of view, right? They need to be compatible. Let's say if they have to launch a token or they have to adhere smart contracts or do a value exchange through smart contracts, they have to go through a lot of legality aspects, right? And this is one of the reasons the biggest games does not care about, hey, how I want to integrate a wallet or something, right? But
but if they're the biggest games too, or the big game studios, and they already have the captured audience, why do that? Why not just have their own centralized point system. They have Robux. They can sell the Robux at Target. They don't have to worry about exchange rates. They don't have to worry about crypto people playing games. They're fine being centralized. But the more people play in that world, the more they wish it was decentralized. They wish the more developers wish that they could have more control over their in-game currencies and things. They're building on that platform. They want to have more control. And I think that everyone's going to graduate from that to a more decentralized world. But regardless of that, people building on top of that, enabling game competitions, enabling something like I just suggested, or just also just proof, right? Yeah. Mike, give me a thumbs up if you turned on your camera because you want to hop in and hang with us. All right. Heck yeah. Welcome, Mike.
Hey, guys. I was just going to listen, but clearly I'm texting Alon in the background anyway, but something you said really resonated. So given the conversation, it would be important to talk about why the NFT effort recently with larger companies like Ubisoft failed. And to me, what's exciting about Turf is that you're building an identity platform. At least that's how I think about it. It's like a big part of this functionality is that like, Mike, here's my ranking in these games, and like it's verifiable.
Proof.
As opposed to, oh, I want to buy some red colored pixels, which is like, okay, and I get it. Like people want to customize their characters, and presumably this will be possible with Turf as well. But that's like, I would never do that. But having decentralized identity is super cool.
No, there's something with having objects, like being able to earn an object and put 20 hours into something.
But that's on the individual game basis. And what's cool is that if somebody wants, right? If the market wants it, right? There is then another place where you could go for proof, because I can share. We've had this conversation with crypto a million times with like scam situations too, where somebody's like prove to me that you have 100 ETH, right? Well, I could easily go to Etherscan, find you 1,000 wallets that have 100 ETH in it, and I just send you the address to any one of them. How do you prove that I'm the actual one? By sending transactions back and forth, whatever. When you get into these, when you get into these centralized systems and these different groups, and now what you're talking about, having a specific ear in Diablo that I got from fighting Mike. How do I prove it? Maybe I can share that in some Web3 way, but if every blockchain is different, everything is different, and we start sharing these different places, having the one centralized source, right? I used to work at a company called IMDb, the Internet Movie Database. One of the big things with IMDb is so you can go and look at David Rankin, what movies he's been in, and then you click on the movie he was in, and you see all the actors in that movie, and then you click on that movie, and whatever. You can see all the proof. One of the things that people really hated dealing with my team at IMDb was that we'd have to force people to show proof that they were the person or that they were in a movie, and they would have to prove it and whatever. And it wasn't just very simple wiki style editing. And the reason for that is because they wanted to be the definitive source of real information, right? Turf is that definitive source, or their API can be the definitive source. And you can think of a million use cases of businesses that could be built on top of that. And that's the beauty of what is here. My identity is my identity, and I cannot just prove to Rankin by sending him to some Block Explorer, something, or to show him a screenshot from a game I played. I can make up a screenshot, think about all those things. Anybody who's decent at Photoshop can fake something.
Oh, come on. We use AI for that now.
Yeah, I mean, AI will do it for you. That would be a fun AI tool.
Or we hire a contractor to play a game on our behalf and then claim credit.
Think about that's what happened with Dookie Dash with the Bored Ape thing. People started delegating access to their apes and stuff like that, so that people could get the high scores for the games, so they could get the bigger airdrop or whatever and win the competition. And people were like, that's a part of the game. And that's not a part of the game. That was a secondary degen hacking the system kind of way of doing it, right? Like, we wouldn't be cool with that if it was an actual game competition, like in a stadium, the dude just laying back like, I got it delegated to my brother at home, don't worry about it. That's not real sport.
And to be honest, this mentality that people are hacking into the system and delegating things to generate some more revenue has created more engagement than they should have been organically, right? So
Yeah.
uh, I feel this thing works out really well. But obviously, this is not legit. But
Yeah.
in the gaming industry at this moment as well, right? There are a lot of gameplay spoofing that's happening, right?
Yeah.
Even if today, if you want to prove that, hey, I won this particular competition, people just take screenshots of their gameplay winning screen and just posting it to the famous platforms, right? This is
Yeah.
not something that should happen if you want to take the data from the user's front, right?
Yeah.
There should
Well,
be a
it
way.
will not be acceptable the second that product like turf exists and people trust it, right? That it just won't. People won't go, okay, it's kind of like the joke, like pics or it never happened, right? Well, turf or it never happened. And I think that's oh man, just so you know, I joked about how later this week I'm going to look much more professional because I was going to shave and get a haircut. I just got a text that my hairdresser's sick, so I'm going to look like I'm going to lean into this look over the next week.
Lean into the ape look.
Look, we're a
Or I'll go-
scrappy studio supporting scrappy startups. Of course, you should lean into this. How else are people going to relate to you?
The untold secret about early stage investors and later stage too, but the later stage already have their many careers and network and stuff built, and there's a whatever, is that we're fundraising just as often as the startups. And I got to meet with people wearing suits, and I got to have the street cred, but I got to also, sometimes wear a shirt with buttons.
Balance it both the ways.
It's exactly, you gotta figure it out. Maybe not this day and age. I don't know. It used to be a thing, but I can imagine. I remember, right, when I don't know, let's say 15 years ago, it became a thing where startup founders went from wearing shirts with buttons to wearing T-shirts with their logos on it, but they would wear like a fancy jacket, like a blazer, right? It was like a T-shirt, jeans, but like a fancy blazer. That was like the uniform. Then it got more and more informal, but still certain investors, there you go, Rankin. He's got his ape on a jersey, but he's got his fancy jacket
Exactly.
over it. That's the way. And but now what's funny is I would say that wealthy people, certain ones like in the tech world, don't dress up anymore. It used to be that you were dressed up as the founder, wearing a hoodie, and that's cool, but you'd still go into an office and the VC's wearing a suit. Now the VC is wearing really expensive like leisure wear, right? Like they're wearing a hoodie too, but it's like a $300 hoodie from like, I don't know, Lululemon or some shitty brand. Some brand, I shouldn't say shitty, but some brand that's way too cool for me to understand. But that's the thing now. And I don't have no idea how we got to this topic. But
now you wear a hoodie that's with a Polygon logo on it.
That's right. To street cred. Well, if you're cool, it would be a Matic logo.
I was gonna say I have all sorts of vintage blockchain swag.
2017.
That's how I've been around. That's right. Like dead blockchains and things like that.
2017 Celsius gear.
That's the OG status.
We gotta start wearing it ironically, right? We gotta. It's in the other room. I wear hats when I leave the house, but I have certain hats that I'll never wear because I don't want them to fade. Like my original Lunar Crush vintage logo 2017 hat or 2018 hat, right? I got that, but I never wear it. It should be hanging behind me for street cred, but I have it in the other room. Yeah, you gotta be cool. It's pretty soon. It's going to start looking like these logos. Remember this slide that I've shared a few times? This could get us back on track, right? I have this slide that I used to use in one of our deck. It says no one starts an internet company anymore, right? And the reason we have this, right, is so that out loud on a deck, it can be kind of confusing and weird. But in real life, what I say is that every company is an internet company now, right? So you see those logos from these old school companies, LinkedIn and the start button from Microsoft.
You got to change the C to a CompuServe logo.
That would be cool. I wonder how many people would recognize it other than us, right? CompuServe.
That's
Remember,
what an inside joke
you
is.
know what was local? You know what was local to us too here? That I just thought about. Oh shit, what was it called? It was something 99 or with a Z or something that was free. It was like internet free or internet 199 or something. I don't remember what it was, but it was either like free internet service that was wrapped in advertisements all day long. So you could be in a browser that was wrapped in advertisement. You got free access to the internet. Net Zero. That was local to me. And that was like a big deal. Do you guys remember Net Zero? I don't know if it was a thing in India or if there was a version of it for you guys, but it basically was at a time when you'd have to spend $20 a month for the internet and you were limited to the amount of time you could spend on the internet, right? You'd pay for AOL. And once you went a certain number of hours, you were paying by the minute for AOL. Like that was a thing for a short period of time when you were on dial-up and stuff. Then there was a thing called Net Zero where you could log in for free, but it was only in their web browser and it was wrapped in ads, basically, which is crazy, right? But the reason I was showing that is because we talked about a day and age where any company that started, they would have to clarify when they're talking to investors, when they're out there in the real world, when they're on TV, that we're starting an internet company, we're starting a web company, right? Now there's no such thing because you can't start a company and not have a presence online. Even if you don't try to have a presence online, it doesn't exist. If you open a hot dog stand, by 1 week in, you can use Postmates, you could use Chow Now or whatever. All those different services exist to make you an internet company. Anyone can order it on the internet, literally a minute after you start your hot dog stand. And we're going into that world on chain, right? All of these games and things from the old school, and as they transition to Web3, there will be no future where things aren't on chain in some way, in my opinion, where most things where you're creating value of some sort and participating in some way is not on chain in some way for people to access, for people to verify, for proof, right? And I think this is the evolution of how it happens in gaming, right? Because it doesn't make sense that it's so siloed into each game or each community.
Now
Yeah,
the AI, even the
I
AI
feel
agents are interacting right now with chain, and that's an interesting idea actually. Like while Mike was here, Alan, so we interacted and something popped up in a conversation like, while we are collecting all this data of the gameplay of the users, imagine somebody who is out there who's trying to create a company who's mimicking the users, how exactly the user gameplays or entire with the actions and everything, right? So they can start an AI company, an AI agent or an AI company with all the data that we are providing, and abstract those data, and and it's a super cool idea, right?
Yeah.
Imagine integrating it with Xbox, PS, and it's amazing.
Well, to find like maybe I was thinking about it from my perspective, right? As a more casual gamer who goes and I want to play, maybe do a league with some friends and family, Brawl Stars, informal Brawl Stars league. And we all play against each other. We have a little fun. It's a casual game. We can play on our cell phones, easy peasy, fun, whatever. But there also is, I shared it with you guys. There's the Brawl Stars actual tournaments where there's people that go and play in a stadium, and it's a big thing with announcers and whatever, and it must be a multi-million-dollar production, right? In between that and what I am is millions and millions and millions of people playing the game. And what if I was getting better at the game and I want to make a team internally in the game, but I need a better way to match up with those team members, right? How do I find someone who's as good as me, who also likes playing some of the other games I do, and whatever parameters, like matchmaking, almost like dating, right? You can use this data to go, oh man, you are at the exact same level as Adi, but he's based on the other side of the world, and you're not in any discords together. So how do you find each other? Boom, we just found a way, right? Maybe that's a company, or maybe that's a feature within another product. who knows? Like there's all these different ways, or I want to play right now against someone who's slightly better than me. And maybe I can reward them by helping me train, right? And this system has a way like, oh, I'm really good at a game. I can actually I could get paid with some tokens to tutor someone to play against them. Basically, I'm going to play the game against someone who's slightly not as good as me to help them level themselves up, right? Maybe that's literally a game startup, right? Like if games are, why not, right? People pay soccer players, football players, baseball players, to cricket players to tutor their kids to level them up so that they can make the college team or the better team next year, or whatever. It's so important to them. And they're like, esports is just important to a whole new generation of people.
And
Wait, I
gameplay
mean,
mentoring is a thing.
yeah,
Like,
you can get the kids to train other people. Like,
if my son knew that he could get more Robux by playing for the next hour with people who wanted to play with somebody a little better than them at
yeah,
obby games with maybe with some chat, so you can tell them, oh, hold down this button while you're doing this, it'll help you get around that object, whatever kind of game it is. Counter-Strike, like maybe I need some Counter-Strike lessons because I want to beat Mike, and I find somebody who's better than me willing to do it. We can
get those squeezy exercise things.
I have a buddy who just this weekend, he was telling me his kid just like flew to Miami to go participate in a gaming competition over there in Miami, just because that was his thing. And it was like, here, 20-year-old kid just found a way to, get an airplane ticket and fly over there for a gaming competition. And so it's just like, it's that genre, that age group. Gaming is their life. Like, it's funny. Like,
hey, do you remember the other day we had a phone call with a company? It was outside of our normal stuff, but it was an introduction through a friend that we knew, and they went to college together. And then we asked him something about college, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I did this and this in college, and I did this." And he just casually talked about one of the sports he did in college, or what he did in college. He was on an esports team, and he shared us like his fandom page where he's wearing the esports uniform and whatever. And he just threw it out casually, like it was nothing. Like it was just part of the what he did while he was in college. And it was the first time anyone ever did that, like casually. That wasn't like an actual sport. Most people go, "Oh yeah, I did tennis, I did football, I did soccer, whatever."
It's funny.
Esports, like it was nothing.
I'm not a boomer, right? But my friend made a boomer move, and because he's kind of frustrated with his kid playing all these video games all the time, and he made a comment, and somebody's like, "Man, it's really hard to balance work life, family and gaming." The guys are like, "Well, why don't you reduce the gaming?" And he got so much lash for making a comment about how is gaming part of your life, right? Like, and everybody's like, "What are you talking about?"
One of the blurry things behind me is a PS5.
And here is the fun thing. Like UAE does have an esports visa specifically for gamers to get into the zone and be a part of they are getting bullish around competitive gaming. So they are inviting gamers to be a part of this system.
Look, I will say, I was sharing it with you guys, and I mentioned Brawl Stars a couple times, right? It's just literally like a casual, super popular game. I play it on my phone with my kid. I've gotten into it playing with my kid because it's a fun game, easy to play. And what's funny is, my son plays with his friends and stuff like that, but I also just love playing. It's a fun game, and I'll play it by myself sometimes, like when I want to turn off my brain, just goof around. But watching the competition with like the real life announcers and people in the stadium and all that stuff. First 20 seconds, I was like, this is kind of ridiculous. Like it felt, and I don't know, it must have been just prejudices, right? Like games, why are these people in a stadium? How boring. It took me like less than 30 seconds to get sucked in. And I sent you guys a private video like behind my son, and he was like cheering, like, whoa, like, and I thought it was ridiculous for the first, like I said, 30 seconds. And by the end of the afternoon, I was watching it with him, and it was rad. It was fun because the game I've played, I've only before that watched esports on games that I've never played. So it was like, okay, that's neat. But it's like, I don't know the rules of the game. I don't know how hard things are. So I don't know that someone did anything special, right? With basketball or football, you don't have to be an expert in the game. You kind of understand the rules, and you can look at that human being and go like, oh my God, I can never in a million years. If that guy tackled me right now, I'd be in the hospital for a month, like that. So you can respect it. But with games, you have to kind of play it and do it. And I can 1000% after watching a minute of that competition, I got sucked in. I can see how the world could completely rally around this. And there are billions of people on this earth. We all now have smartphones. We all have played casual games. We all have played, Words with Friends against somebody, or one of those even not super competitive games. They get competitive. It can be a lot of fun.
Look at it like Madden or like NBA top, one of these NBA games, or better yet, like League of Legends, right? If you're playing something like League of Legends, you have your favorite character, right? You got your character that you're really good with. And then all of a sudden now you're watching a competition, you're seeing how other people are playing with that character, and you're so much more committed to that because you have this tie to that character that you're watching, which is a cool aspect.
Yeah,
and
that's why it's super cool. So we alluded to this at the beginning. We didn't actually and we have 20 minutes left, so we got plenty of time, but we didn't get into your plans now. You guys if you go to your website, you talk about the upcoming node sale, running a node, how that might work. I know that Avalanche has gotten involved with your project. There's some things. I don't know how much exactly you want to say out loud, so I'll let you kind of say it. But tell us about what's next. I know that there's a lot of exciting stuff.
So we have 3 parts, obviously. The first layer, the data abstraction layer that we speak about, is how we are extracting the data, right?
Yeah.
Once we have the data, then there comes the layer of data orchestration. That's where all the Web3 things come into the picture. And that's where our nodes come into the picture. We call it T nodes. And this is the engine that makes sure that the data is getting committed on chain for further utilization. So you can think of our nodes as the value extraction engine as well as value setting engine, which is making it possible to get the data from the game and putting it on chain in a way that it can be utilized. So whoever will be running our nodes so we are building on as an Avalanche's permissionless L1, and all the nodes that people will be running is categorized into 2 parts. First is the validator network, where people are just contributing to the network security. And the next part is the DO nodes. We call it data orchestration nodes, or these 2 all are called T nodes in our nomenclature. But these DO nodes are the nodes who are doing the real computation and getting the data committed on chain. So whoever will be participating, so we'll be having our node sales coming up, and more details will be out really soon. And in this whole picture, you will be seeing how much emission that you are getting from the whole chunk of the token that we'll be releasing. And at the same time, the business that we're creating, right? We basically are in the data business. These data can be getting committed to data DAOs where more value can be generated. It can be delegated to different platforms, just like we were discussing. And from there, we will be getting a lot of value created. And all these value creation, the heart that's sitting in the middle is our own network token, right? So there is a huge circular economy that we are trying to create that's incentivizing the DO nodes to actually do the operations and earn more out of it. And at the same time, it's literally like a passive income, right? If you are running our nodes, you can just get a very good ROI with more games we are supporting and more gamers that we are bringing in. And obviously, we had a background in terms of us going into the competitive gaming space and having a distribution of nearly 400,000 gamers. So every single gamer that we are targeting into will be onboarded into this particular system, contributing their data to on-chain, right, to our own network. So this whole value creation will obviously be incentivized for running the nodes and getting things rolling. So I won't be talking much about our node sales specifics at this moment because it has a lot of things that is getting structured, and at the same time, we are speaking with a lot of investors. So, uh, coming one thing I can be really sure about, we are creating the network dynamics in a way that more data can be utilized, and even if the end platforms can be bigger enterprises or gaming studios who wants to leverage our data, that they will be able to fetch real-time gameplay data, whatever they want specifically, to their platform and utilize it. And in this whole process, there is the like value transfer
Yeah.
that's happening through the nodes.
That's really cool. I think it's one, for your side of it and the node side and the community side of providing this service, there's a lot of value you're bringing the whole community, but this is also feels like first time gamers and people participating are creating the data where it doesn't just go to one centralized source and they're providing it all to them, right? You play Xbox and all day long you're making money for Microsoft, not just from buying the game and participating, but there's data you're providing, and Microsoft is utilizing that data for all sorts of other things, right? Here you're taking the data you're creating and now you're opening it up to so much more, and you'll be rewarded for it too. And I think that's such a rad way of looking at this whole thing. And I think that's how a lot of things are. People are realizing some people don't give a crap, right? Like at a certain point you go, oh man, all my data that's on Facebook and this and that goes, and you're like, screw it. I can see, I can see pictures of my friends from high school, and that's worth it for me, right?
There are those that know that their data are being shared and those that don't, right? Like everybody's data is being shared, whether you know it or not.
Yeah. But there's also people who care and don't care.
Right.
And I think that more and more people are caring and realizing how much value it's worth and want a piece of it, right? So think about like one of the reasons why TikTok couldn't be banned in the United States reasonably, right? One, you can argue the reasons good, bad, or ugly all day long. But here's the thing. Right now, our economy isn't so great. Inflation is crazy. People can't afford shit. And thousands of people in America are getting paid by TikTok every week or every month, however they distribute the funds for the content they're sharing and all that stuff. It's why, Twitter had to open it up and start paying people for engagement and stuff like that. People are realizing that their content is making money, and the group of people is expanding, and the amount you get paid is coming less, right? Like it's not just like 7 people who on YouTube are, becoming millionaires. It's 70,000, then 700,000. Now millions of people are like, I get $20 a week from Twitter or whatever for getting that engagement. And Mike could use the extra income because he's paying $16 for a dozen eggs.
I was just in Michigan.
I was reading.
I was just in Michigan visiting a portfolio company, and on the way back to the airport, there was some radio DJ complaining about the price of eggs over there, and he's like, "No, eggs are worth $6." And I'm thinking, $6? I should take some on my way home.
Mike's gonna start. Mike, but by the way, Mike is like a crazy good chef. He cooks all sorts of really good looking stuff and shares it with us and makes us jealous all the time. A foodie.
I wasn't gonna bring it up, but I just did a batch of what is it? Jasmine tea madeleines.
Fancy. I'd like that. You got to share the picture and show us everything. But that's a thing. It's like I like cooking and stuff, but Mike takes it to a level like fancy foodie style.
You're too kind, but thank you.
No, it's awesome. And so, but that's a crazy. That's okay. We can't go there. The inflation talk and all of that stuff. But
no, but
we can.
I think you make a good point about democratization of monetization, right? Like smaller creators can get a couple of bucks here and there, and like why not? It's activities you're already enjoying, and as you were talking about the fact that we have billions of people with connected devices, you can find an audience, and maybe, surely this isn't necessarily a career path for everyone, but these kinds of platforms make it viable to be a content creator without a giant production team, for example. It's just like more people can participate. And the
And
fact that
everybody's side hustles are side hustles. It used to be, oh, I drive for Uber as a side hustle. I would Postmates as a side hustle. And then it becomes people's job. And then they do this and then they do that. And not everyone, but so many young people and so many people have all sorts of jobs and things. And if they're making a few bucks here, a few bucks there, that's a life, or it's just, I go to college and this is 20 bucks
money.
a beer money. This is a lunch. This is date money. This is whatever it is, right? It can be anything, and it's meaningful. It's
creating value for the data that they are already generating, right? It's not something that we are forcing someone like, hey, you need to do this in order to get this. You play your favorite game. Maybe for a lot of people, it's 10% of their life, right? So maybe if they can monetize it in a right way, and I feel with the data infrastructure, something like this, where the distribution is figured out, like whom can actually leverage this data and provide you the value for your gameplay data, it's something that need to be figured out, and it can go to a next level of monetization with users, I would say, already available, right? People are already doing that particular thing. Just make some money out of it.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of, that's the story of all of this stuff. And it makes so much sense. And I think people will demand it more and more too, is where I was going at before. Rankin, you were about to say something.
Yeah, I think a lot of younger people today, like you're seeing less and less full-time jobs, and they're getting a lot of part-time jobs where they have 2 or 3 part-time jobs, right? And so, it's crypto can sometimes provide another way for maybe them to make a little extra income. I mean, it's, you got, and that's just it. It's the job market is changing, I think, out there for a lot of these younger people. And so, it's they might be driving Uber on the side or doing their DoorDash, but they're also working on a retail job or something like that, but they're not getting the full hours that they want because the economy is just slow in some aspects, and people just aren't shopping maybe as much. I don't know. Everybody's doing stuff online, so for the younger people, I think it's getting more challenging in some aspects.
Yeah, exactly. For the people, especially for the people who are there, for the kids who are in college, actually, right? It's way better. Like they have a passion, and for that passion, if they are getting paid, what's better than that?
Yeah.
You don't have to.
That's the beauty. Like, to be able to. We talked about this before with robots and stuff, and like, what's your passion? Like, really, what's your passion? What are you into? Like, what would you be doing right now if money was no object? Because there is like the rich person luxury version of saying that out loud. Like, ooh, if I had my home paid for and $1 million in the bank or whatever, I wouldn't have to go work in that cubicle or work that job that I don't like. I'm going to do whatever I want. But there might be a future, right, with robots and things where you don't even have that choice. Your job will be done by AI or a robot or something. And that sounds ridiculous. It sounds like we live in some Wall-E style world, but maybe we might be going that way. And then what do we do with all of our time? Hopefully,
you're going to be building pyramids.
Man, we should do an episode or maybe a couple about that, AI and jobs. And this is like a total tangent we should not get into right now, but we should totally do this.
But really, what's your passion? What Adi just said is really important, because if you're passionate about playing community-based games or doing something like that, and you can earn something because they are farming your data, whether you like it or not, if you can earn something off that, great. Because do we believe that when the robots take over, and what did Elon Musk said something like, we're going to go into the most prosperous age of prosperity or something like that when he was unveiling the robots? That would be if we have the most noble people at the top of governments and things taking care of everyone, right? Because you could look at it and go like, oh my gosh, imagine a world where nobody has to worry about everything because robots will keep us fed nice local organic foods and we all live a good life, and the income that's generated from it will be distributed amongst the people, and we all can make art and live good lives and live our passions. But that's that's a pipe dream, because what'll happen is what happens every single time there's some kind of industrial revolution type of thing, where a small group of people get extremely wealthy and the majority of the people get pushed down. So
you're going to sit there watching generated AI video content while you're pedaling the bike to feed the system.
Sounds like a familiar storyline. I can't remember where I've seen it before.
I think I've seen this, right? Black Mirror or something like that. Maybe Matrix. Batteries,
But think about it from a utopian standpoint. It could be amazing, and it could actually be more amazing in the short term for folks who live in places where cost of living is lower, because you can potentially get paid the same amount that Mike would in New York, who has to buy a $16 pack of eggs, if you're living in Michigan where it's $6.
Actually,
or whatever,
was
right?
going crazy because people were making money, and over there, like a few dollars is a good money. Where U.S. doesn't do you as far, but like third world country, like some of these games are just
Well,
awesome.
think about this. Yesterday there was the airdrop for Eric Voorhees' thing, the Venice.ai.
Tell me about it. I'm mad I didn't use the product more.
So I tested the product. I played around with it, but most of the time that I tested it, I didn't connect to wallet. So I got a very tiny amount. I know a few people who got hundreds of those Venice tokens. If you were based in Bangalore with Adi and Dibio, and you got thousands of dollars worth of these tokens, you immediately sold them for USDC or something, you could afford to pay for an apartment for months, right? If you got that same amount, which I didn't, I got, less than $100 worth or something, here in Southern California, or God forbid you're in New York with Mike, those thousands of dollars wouldn't even cover 1 month of rent in most places, right? So it really depends. And when it was decentralized on chain and whatever, as far as I know, they didn't factor where you are in the world to the value you bring to the system, because you bring the same value to the system no matter where you are in the world. So they treated you fairly. And whether you believe like it's a fair drop or whatever, I don't know anything about the drop. I'm not involved in it or anything like that. But what I'm saying is that the distribution, whether I was based here in the United States and I connected my Web3 wallet to it, or I was based in India, or if I was based in China, or if I was based in Mexico or Canada or wherever I am in the world, in Europe, I got the same amount for the same amount of value I brought to the system. I love that world. Like, I love the world where, I know it's a utopian pipe dream and a little bit insane to think, because as an American, life should if it became an equal level playing field world where there are no borders, as an American, I have more to lose than as an African person in most African countries has to gain, right? But I love the idea of that. I want that for the world, and it's a crazy outcome. So let's go back to, before we go, what's the best place for us on Turf to be able to sign up, to follow you guys? And I promise everyone, before the node sale goes live and when they have the details and all that, we'll have Dibio and Adi back on here. So sign up on DGB, where we told you earlier, dgb.vc. But in the meantime, where should everybody be following you guys, and where can they sign up?
So the best way is to follow our Twitter, and the X. I use it as Twitter, but so you can follow us on Twitter at turfgg_, and most of our updates will be going there regarding the specifics of our node sales. It's still not out, but it will be happening in our website for sure, as well as in other node selling platforms in multiple phases. And from now on to the next 1 month, we'll be sharing more and more details before the node sale goes live. So for sure, we'll be.
If you go to turf.gg, I was just going to add that in the top right corner, there's the link to X, there's a link to Discord, and there's a link to their Telegram too.
And it's missing a link to Blue Sky. This is a decentralized platform. Come on, guys.
Yeah, Mike has been sending me. I think I signed up, but I barely use it. But we got to add that. But go to turf.gg, and then I interrupted. Sorry. Dibio, go ahead.
Yeah, after our Twitter, obviously, our website is the home where you will be seeing the node management consoles and the sales details that will be up. And at the same time, it's the best way to participate in our node sales, obviously along with multiple launchpads, node-based launchpads. But yeah, the best way to learn more about the node infrastructure that we're building, you can go to our docs where you'll be having an end-to-end overview of how our nodes are working and how the infrastructure is generating value for data. And yes, I feel this is most of it. In the coming 2 to 3 weeks, we'll be sharing more and more details on our Twitter, as well as things will be updated on our website as well. So that's the best two places.
Awesome. Anybody else have anything to add before we finish up? Thanks for joining us, Emilio. Anybody else? And we will. I'm gonna make sure everyone on the DGB newsletter hears about it too as we go. DGB, as you guys all know, is an investor in Turf, full disclosure and all that fun stuff. But we had all the disclosures at the beginning anyway. But just throwing that out there, so we'll keep you updated. We're gonna participate. I'm really excited. So, any last words, Rankin, Mike?
No, it's been fun.
I want
All right,
to just
guys.
have clients.
I would really recommend people to be really all the community members to have a lookout on our Twitter and our website, because this is something that is internal news that I am breaking it out. Like we want to have only premium community members who will be with us for a long term. So that's why it will be full of this entire month will be full of surprises. So if you miss it, you miss it. Just like Alan said, he missed the Vanis AI drop. So don't blink an eye.
That's right. It's so funny, being in the space long enough. You kind of like know things are coming, and then you kind of forget to participate on chain something, and then something comes along, and a friend goes, "Oh, you got like 10 V tokens or whatever, a VVV. I got like 200," and you're like, "Oh crap! I should have connected my wallet."
Yeah, I should have known. Yeah, I know. I mean,
you know better. You know better.
But, yeah, we know about his wallet, his previous wallet. He did the Fox drop. I'm like, how could I not see this coming? Right?
I know.
And I completely I ended up buying some yesterday just because I want to have exposure. But I'm like, I should have got this as a drop.
That's right. I barely got any. I must have connected one time.
No, I bought one. I bought one because I wanted to just have one. I felt bad that I didn't get any.
That's awesome.
But I also bought one because I absolutely know that eventually it's going to go down in price, and I don't want to buy enough and to watch my bag fall. Right, so I bought that one. There's a pricing indicator to remember what I bought it at.
Exactly. All right, guys, it was so great to see you. We'll be back, every week like we do this. Remember, if you're an investor, or especially if you're a startup who's in the space and wants to reach out to us, go to dgb.vc. If you want to learn more about, deals like this or whatever, reach out, come hang out with us, sign up to the newsletter. And of course, go and hit up Turf directly and follow them and Dibio and Adi on Twitter. And we'll see you guys all next week. Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining so late at night. I know it's so late for you guys, so thanks.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you, Alan.
Thanks for having us, guys.
Bye. Peace out. Thank you.